You're streaming.
That is right. And then I'm going to share screen real quick while people are dialing in.
Okay.
All right. So I'm very, very excited to have Melissa from Arbor Venture join us today. For those of you who are dialing in now, maybe I will do a quick intro of what Founders Hong Kong is all about. We're a nonprofit organization with the goal to connect basically the world expert with entrepreneurs from Hong Kong, and particularly from Silicon Valley. And in this case, Melissa is dialing in from the US, but she's literally a world citizen. Super honored to have her today. So the format of this conversation is I have 28 questions that I'm gonna ask Melissa, super rapid fire. And I'm also wanted to encourage everyone online to, if you have any questions, when I'm done with the 28 questions, we wanted to invite you to ask questions, and I will actually promote you guys to ask the question live. So please enter your question in the Q&A session. And then after that, I'm going to ask and actually promote and put you live so you can tell Melissa about your company and ask her any question that you would like. So with that, I'm going to actually stop sharing this and let's get started. All right, Melissa, why the name Arbor Ventures?
Arbor was the name of the entity my ex-father-in-law had used to make the first investment in Intel in 1968, which proved out to be very successful. So I thought if he had success, perhaps I'd have the same good karma.
Awesome, lovely. Where are you located?
I live in Singapore, but as you know, my home was Hong Kong for 13 and a half years. I'm currently sitting in Florida, stuck in the US, and waiting to go back to Singapore.
Awesome.
I use the word stuck.
I love your Singapore background, so lovely.
Yep.
What geographies do you invest in?
We invest globally.
Got it. And then what stage do you focus on?
80% is early stage, seed, and Series A.
Got it. And then how about sectors and industry do you focus on?
It's fintech all the time.
Okay. How big is your current fund?
The current fund's 225.
Oh, wow. And then what's your average check size for each of the investments?
It depends on the company, but anywhere from 3 to 5 million is the initial check. But if there's a seed deal that we really like, we'll go down to a couple 100,000, and the largest check we've written is 21 million.
Oh, wow. Okay. And how many deals do you do usually per year?
3 to 4.
Do you prefer to lead or follow?
Either way, great. We just want to invest in great entrepreneurs.
I see. Do you have a minimal equity ownership requirement?
No.
Do you usually take board seats?
Half the time.
Half the time. How many? Oh, I already asked this. If I already raised some money for an angel, is it too late to talk to you?
Not at all.
Okay. How about if I'm raising Series B and C, should I contact you?
You can, but we haven't done any Series B deals in quite some time.
Got it. What would be your #1 pitching advice for founders?
Just remember, we've seen thousands of companies, and we're a firm where we have entrepreneurs such as myself. And so be honest, be transparent, and just really share why you're building the company.
Yeah. And what do you look for in a founder?
Great characteristic traits of grit, perseverance, love of what they're doing from reasons beyond money, and really the desire to build something great, but also understands and can balance out input from others.
What's your decision process look like?
If a deal is interesting, it comes to the team. If someone likes it, they write a one-pager. We then go ahead and can form a deal team of 3 people, do the due diligence, come back, write an investment memo, and then take it to an investment committee.
Got it. And so tell us more about your background. Like how did you come before Arbor Ventures?
I was at Vantage Point Venture Partners for 12 years.
Oh, wow. Okay. If you can only pick one company, which one is your favorite portfolio company and why?
I love them all.
Okay. If you can only pick one company that you wish you did get to invest, which one?
I think the only regret probably is TransferWise.
That's a good one. Who's your favorite founder or CEO of all time?
I don't think there's one in particular. I mean, there's so many great founders out there. I mean, I admire really all founders, especially who take the risk and build companies and dedicate their lives to what they're doing.
What is your favorite startup event so people can court you?
My favorite startup event, probably Money 2020.
What's your favorite tech media?
Well, I mean, there's the usual, but I read a combination every day, probably read 5 or 6. And I wouldn't say I have a favorite, but I enjoy reading them all.
Okay. So what make Arbor Venture different from all the other funds out there?
We sit between great entrepreneurs and strategic investors. And that is our goal, is to really make those introductions, help strategically, and really help build the companies when it comes to product market fit. But at the end of the day, a venture firm is only as good as 2 things: the entrepreneurs they back and the LPs who help them with the funding.
Yeah. And if your portfolio's founder is going to say I love Melissa because what do you think that would be?
I work really hard for them.
Awesome. Do you actually help with future financing?
Absolutely.
And what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Melissa at arborventures.com.
Awesome. Cool. Now I'm going to now open up. Well, we're super, super fast. We only did the whole thing in a minute. I am now going to encourage everybody to either put on chat your question, and I'm going to promote you as give me 1 second. I'm going to promote you as a panelist. For those of you who want to ask questions, please feel free to jump in. But give me 1 second. I saw Seth. I'm going to actually invite Seth to join us as a panelist. So give Seth 1 second.
Hey guys, I don't actually have a question. I just joined the meeting, so.
Yeah, please do. Go ahead. Tell us maybe a quick introduction and your question.
Yeah, I don't actually have a question, but nice meeting you, Melissa. My name is Seth. I'm based in San Francisco. I'm currently an MBA student at Berkeley, and I'm also a consultant at EY focusing on technology transformation. So I guess on a high level from a VC perspective, right? If we do have a different idea for startup, especially in the MBA program, what are the best way to get in touch with the VC route in that sense?
Well, I mean, some VCs will go to the universities and do judging contests, and that's the best way. Or I think usually the best way to get in touch with a VC is to use your network. So most VCs have analysts who also have gone to school, recently graduated, reach out to them. Or, you know what, you can also, I mean, sending things to general mail doesn't usually work. But hey, Seth, if you have an idea, you want to bounce it off me, just send it to Melissa at arborventures.com.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that. And it seems like a lot of my colleagues or peers, they do have great idea, right? So what do you recommend in terms of execution? At what stage should we start reaching out to VC or pitching the idea at that sense?
You need to have a well thought out idea. So I think just a high level concept without thinking through the differentiation, the competitiveness, the market environment, it'd be too early. But you got to think through those things before you can bring it to a VC.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate the answer, Melissa. And thanks, Edith, for putting me up. Thank you.
Thanks, Seth. Okay, 1 second. I am going to assign you back to, okay. Anybody else want to ask questions? If not, I actually have some questions for you, Melissa. So what do you think happened with the N group? What happened? like in terms of like change of regulations and more listing in Hong Kong? What's your prediction?
I think there'll be a delay in the listing, but at some point in 2021, the company probably will get listed.
And then you recently, congratulations, you also have Lufax just gone public as well.
Yep, we're very excited. Our first IPO since starting Arbor. We were a Series A investor in Lufax. The company has been remarkable. The story's great, and it's a great team.
Awesome, congratulations. Now I'm going to actually promote Ty. If you can show your video, that would be best. Hey Ty, you actually are on mute. I'm going to, okay, awesome.
Yeah, how's it going? This is a lot of fun. This is fantastic. This is amazing, actually, how technology has changed things, and I'm actually on a call. Anyways, thank you so much. As far as tech and the way everything is shifting super drastically, like, how do you foresee we will get to the corners of the world that are not yet reached by technology soonest? And are there any innovations that you see helping that, rapidly?
I think it's, we've been an emerging market investor for quite some time, not in Africa, but clearly in Southeast Asia. And I think the benefits of maybe not having legacy infrastructure like you do in the US is that you can actually go ahead and leapfrog and implement new technologies that enable people who are, as you said, the far corners of the world, include them in the system. And that's changing quite rapidly. So I can't speak to Africa or South America, but in Asia, we definitely have seen the change. I mean, mobile phone penetration is extremely high. Maybe people are spending too much time on the internet, on social media. I mean, I think it was Thailand is over 9 hours a day. But yeah, I think it's changing, and technology, brings everybody closer together.
Nice. What do you think is like maybe a key innovation to sort of integrate humanity over time, like maybe in a long or short-term time frame, so to speak?
Cost, right? The lower the cost of delivering the technology, the more you're able to get it out to people around the world who, in low GDP per capita countries. But and that is happening. And so it's bringing down the cost of bandwidth, it's bringing down the cost of mobile phones, and that's been a trend that will continue.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I just hope more people are able to get online and access. I was curious, do you think, last question, and I'll leave. Do you think gravity power will ever be a thing? Like solar, there's solar, there's Touchlight. My friend is a CEO of Touchlight Innovations. Quick shout out for his company, Swarnav. And that's a different form of power. But do you think gravity power can rapidly or enter the mix? And then can people just get rapidly connected based on that kind of access to power, and or like solar vehicles maybe
you
too?
Froze up, Edith. Oh, no, you're back. I don't know the answer to that one, but I don't rule out much.
Awesome. Thanks, Ty, for asking questions. I'm going to put you back into attendees now. So on that note, Melissa, you do invest worldwide. You mentioned earlier about like mobile phone is obviously a huge trend for a lot of developing countries. What do you think about the US in terms of opportunity for fintech particularly?
Well, I mean, I think the US is behind in the case of payment systems and neobanks. And the US has a legacy infrastructure that needs to be upgraded and changed. But, I think we see 3 different parts of the world emerging as centers. I mean, the announcement on the consortium in Asia is clearly, Asia will become its own, is and has become a very powerful, area of development. Then there's Europe, and then there's the US. And, I wouldn't be surprised to see Asia continue to leapfrog and surpass the US on many fronts in financial services in the future. Yeah.
And when you talk about fintech, how do you actually, obviously there's like insurtech and there's a fintech infrastructure, as you mentioned, like neobank. Is that any particular area that you're most excited about this year?
We invest across the spectrum of financial services. So whether it's insurance or whether it's data or whether it's cyber, it doesn't matter. If it touches a financial transaction, we're interested in it.
Got it. I see. And then what's the valuation these days? Like if you compare, Israel versus US for early stage versus Asia.
I think it depends where in Asia, but it depends how early. But clearly valuations, what's really interesting about venture right now, compared to 20 years ago is that everything is normalized, right? I think valuations for early stage deals, whether it's Israel, US, or Asia, is pretty similar. I do think what is interesting is you see mostly unicorns coming out of China and the US, of course, right?
Yeah.
When you look at share numbers. But at the end of the day, we're seeing great companies built in many locations now, which is a real change. And I think, for better or for worse, we're going to see a distribution of next generation tech companies built globally. And the US won't be the center of tech innovation solely going forward for the next decade.
Yeah, completely agree. And do you, since you invested in Lufax so early on, do you think like China valuation is still higher than what you see in the US?
Well, I mean, Lufax has performed beautifully from a financial perspective. So yeah, I think the Chinese domestic markets, have valued companies very highly, but, the US has at times as well. So I just think it's all about performance of building a great company. And clearly Greg and his team have done so.
Yeah, it's amazing. And how did the COVID impacting you guys in terms of deal sourcing or due diligence? Have you invested in any company just purely over Zoom?
We have, but that was pre-COVID. So, I mean, given that we've had a distributed team for quite some time, operating over Zoom is quite natural to us. So we've increased the frequency of calls. We're doing our due diligence. We have a great network globally. We're able to have somebody we know and trust go meet the team, or at least be able to validate the team pretty in detail. So I think COVID is going to change the way we operate in venture in general, right? The idea of getting on the plane for the first meeting is probably not going to happen. It's going to be using your network more, but maybe you get on the plane for the final due diligence meeting. I think people are just not going to go back to, airplanes have become like bus service, or getting in the car. I think that will change for at least the next couple of years.
Yeah, and do you actually think that COVID creates some unique opportunity in the fintech space?
Oh, it's been great for us. Our portfolio has had a great year. I mean, from a revenue perspective it's been an amazing year in 2020. I think the digitization of the infrastructure of financial services has been accelerated by COVID. And that's not going to change. So I just think, e-commerce became an essential item, right? Who would have thought that? Banking online became essential. So there's a lot of changes in behavior. I like to say, whether it's 3 clicks, 3 months, or 3 quarters, there's at some point behavior switches over. And I think we've already reached that point in time. Yeah,
very, very exciting space. And then last but not least, I don't want to keep you for too long because I know you're 3 hours ahead of us and late. And final questions. What will be, in order to pitch you, what works? Like if you will I'm a founder, I'm pitching you, I want to ask for pitching advice that I will score investment from Melissa. What do I need to do?
You need to demonstrate a passion and understanding of the space that you're going into very deeply, and really a reason why you're doing this. And just because I want to be a startup founder, or I want to do this because, I want to take a company public, that's not good enough. We'd like to see the passion of why somebody wants to do what they're doing and how it's going to change their life and the world. And that's very important to us. and the demonstrating grit and perseverance. But, to founders, I mean, one of the most important pieces of advice I can give is just because somebody turns you down, don't take it as a reflection on your idea necessarily.
Yeah.
We see a lot of ideas. And, as an example, right now, we're in the middle of processing 2 deals. And if another deal comes along, it's unlikely we're going to give it a lot of time of attention at the moment, like right now, the next couple of weeks, because we're busy doing something else. So I think having been a founder, all I can say is don't let those no's get in your way. Every no you get means you're closer to a yes.
Yep. Yeah, don't take no for an answer. So even you say no to me once, I will continue to follow you, keep you updated on our progress. I have definitely done the investment because really like build relationship over a year with a founder. So don't give up.
That's right. And I would say that's true, Edith, right? I think a lot of times you do have relationships with founders that develop and continue to develop over time.
Yes. And I encourage everybody online, which is feel free to message Melissa, but even she said no, it's always good to at least send quarterly update. And we often love to be on the newsletter or any updates from founders so we can sort of track your progress over time. So with that, Melissa, thank you so much for taking the time tonight. I know it's very, very late for you, but thank you everyone for joining us. And next month, we're going to have a Latman from Beyond Venture to be part of this conversation. So we'll see you guys soon.
Okay, always great seeing you. Bye-bye.
Bye, take care.